set. Okay, it's Tuesday, October 9th, 2018. This is the meeting of the Capital Improvement Committee. First order of business is to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Before I open the public hearing, I just want to, we have a new member, Maggie Levasseur, right?
Very good.
Did I get that right?
Yep.
Well, congratulations for, thank you for joining us on Capital Improvement. This is one of the funnest committee, is that a word, funnest?
Funnest.
Yes.
That is.
Most enjoyable.
Most enjoyable.
It's a superlative.
Maggie, do you want to introduce yourself to everybody here and tell us a little
Sure.
bit about yourself and why you want to join the Capital Improvement Committee?
Sure. Maggie Levasseur. I've been in Dudley for about 10 years now. Originally from Des Moines, Iowa. Moved out to Massachusetts about 17 years ago. Just thought it would be something different, something that I just kind of wanted to do for the town and try it out and see what I thought. So I joined the committee.
All right.
Thank you.
Welcome. Good luck. Just to kind of give you a little background, Maggie, what Capital Improvement does, anything that's purchased in the town that has a lifespan, basically, like buildings, vehicles, software, computer, that type of stuff. Anything that costs over $20,000, that department will come in front of this committee, explain why they need it, show us some supporting documentation as to the cost of it, and then we make a decision, ask questions, make a decision as to whether we go forward with purchasing that. Obviously, it's up to the selectmen to make that decision, to spend the money, but they do come in front of us, and we try to ask the questions so it's not so they don't tie themselves up in front of the Board of Selectmen.
Gotcha.
Want to add anything to that? No. Most of the departments will submit 5-year plans to us, so we get an idea of what their 5-year costs are going to be, so that we can kind of space out the purchases. Because obviously we're always cash strapped, so we always got to figure out what we need to buy when. So we like to look at 5-year plans and anticipate what's coming up in the future. So those are one of the things we do.
Okay.
I guess that's it. So we'll open the public hearing. First order on our agenda would be the police department has a request to purchase a 2019 Ford F-150 pickup truck at a cost of $50,681. You guys should all have a beginning of your packet, a little letter from the chief. If anybody wants to take a minute to read that. The chief is not here. Is there anybody from the police department here? No.
I know the chief is at a conference. He would otherwise be here this evening.
I have a question.
Okay, well.
Don't want to ask it to the crowd. It's not
Well,
like
I'm just
somebody's
giving
going to call in with an answer. But my question generally, if I could, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
This is replacing a unit or it's an additional unit?
Well, that I don't know. We have a 5-year plan with the chief. It's been to replace one of his oldest vehicles every year. That seems to be what we've been on track with. The 5-year plan did not include a pickup truck. So, and I don't have anything off of the bid sheet to show us what he's actually buying here. So, you know, we can reach out to the chief to get some more information.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to add at the requested price of $50,681. That's considerably higher than what the cost of a cruiser would be.
Right.
Either a standard sedan or an SUV, which the town has purchased in the past. So just keep that in mind, that it's purchasing a vehicle, but it's purchasing a vehicle at a higher cost than normally what we would do.
Our normal, we split it out at 45, I think, was the
And
high end.
that's fully equipped.
That was fully equipped, right? So, without anybody have any other questions on this?
I guess I have one. Where do we stand with the 5-year capital plan? Has that been fully played out, or are we still in the midst of it? And if so, have we purchased the vehicle for this year?
His 5-year capital plan went until 2022. That's what he's updated, so, and it was just revolving the cruisers. I believe 45 was the top limit on the cruisers. So it was just basically replacing one cruiser each year.
And has that cruiser for this particular fiscal year been replaced?
Yes. That's under a debt exclusion.
Correct. Okay.
So there was a debt exclusion that went for 3 years.
3 cruisers for 5 years, and this is the 3rd year, so reasonably,
I thought it was 3.
3 cruisers in 5 years, and we went year 1, 2, and 3
Yeah.
for them. So the 5-year, it should have been 3 in 3 years.
Yeah.
There was no,
Okay, because I thought the override was the 3-year. It was knocked from 5 to 3. He requested 5.
5
He went to
cruisers?
3.
Okay.
I guess, Mr.
Right.
Chairman, it does indicate here that he would be either surplusing or trading in where am I here? One of his older cruisers,
Which one, I don't know.
the Ford Taurus. Oh, I see, won't be produced in the future, I see. I misread.
And I think the last one we bought was an SUV.
Yes.
Explorer?
Last 3.
Yeah, the last 3, right.
The last one was the Dodge, the car.
They bought a Dodge car?
The 2 before that were SUVs.
Yep, and they make the Dodge Charger. The
Correct.
Crown Victoria is just
Gone.
Yeah,
Just
just,
done.
so,
So, you know, what we can do with this is I can, you know, when is the chief getting back this week?
I believe it's probably Thursday.
I can reach out to the chief, see exactly, you know, what he needs, get him get a bid on this, and then, we're gonna have another meeting anyway, before town meeting. So, we can get some more information, have him appear at that meeting, get some more information on it.
Yeah, just find out if this is a additional vehicle or if it's,
It appears to me to be
Normal
something
attrition.
in addition to what he's already planned out, so. All right, so you wanna move, go ahead, Joe, Rich.
one thought, and I think it applies to most of the items on here. I believe our approval process should be a little bit more specific in that we should cover the disposition of vehicles. In my mind, any vehicle left in the back parking lot is one too many. And I realize the truck that's there, the bread truck, is sort of a work in progress, but I think everything sort of needs to have a tag. If he's phasing out an old cruiser, and really, I'm sure he's got 98% of the life out of it, we should have a plan to do it, even if it's, you know, we're getting a trade-in for a handful of dollars. The idea that it's going to be a winter home for mice is probably not a good thing, or something I don't want to advocate for. Maybe you don't get money, a ton of money for it, but we obviously have no use for it.
Well,
So,
when it comes to trading on this type of equipment, you know, you're gonna get nothing for what you got, so.
couldn't find it in
but the
my-
finality of it was my
Right.
point.
What a,
You know, really.
Greg, something about possibly the auctioning what we got for vehicles.
Yep,
But we'd
we,
have to have a pool of them.
but they're not,
Worthwhile.
they're not gonna bring in, those vehicles are broken.
Right.
They're not gonna bring in any substantial amount of money to offset any costs whatsoever.
Right, so my point was that I'm reasonably certain nobody gets rid of anything in the town of Dudley unless they've squeezed that last
Right.
little bit out of it. And I'm very happy to go through and say, let's find it a home here, so that we're not dealing with it later. You don't want to deal with broken windows, you want to leave with, you know, somebody trying to fiddle with it, or if we can assign that now, I think it sort of saves us a step. I think the town administrator's time would be better spent doing something other than we're gonna have an internal auction to get $200 for a vehicle, you know what I mean?
You gotta kind of store them for a while till you get enough out
Yeah,
there.
but
You actually make it
when we run
worthwhile.
out of space, then we get rid of
You
them.
gotta get rid of them, right?
Yeah. Thompson
So,
Speedway
so then the
demolition
question
derby
is, how do you
car.
assign a
Demolition derby.
2003 police
Material.
vehicle?
Just to, you know, make it known that we'll trade it in.
Doesn't work anymore.
You know, if they give us $200, $500, I'd be happy to say the first $500 takes it, and all of a sudden, a taxi service gets a $500 worth of parts.
Can't we run something on the sign outside saying we've got a particular vehicle for sale? Make offer.
The chief procurement officer would be in
We do
charge
that?
of the disposition.
That's me.
And, you know, you don't want to seem that you're giving it away because it almost seems flippant and irresponsible. Oh, you could still, the idea that, here it is, we'll sell it to Baypath for $1 and let them work on it. We'll sell it to the local cab company who needs parts. We'll donate it to a cause. Well, I mean, it's the idea that
You put a police cruiser on the sign outside,
first
and you'll
500
have,
takes it.
you'll have 50
But we're not,
16-year-old kids with their license trying to buy that thing, so.
we don't want somebody driving around in the Bluesmobile either, you know, black and white cruiser or something like that.
True.
You know, maybe
So what are you suggesting as far as disposition of these?
just
What we got?
have a basic trade-in. MHQ's got to have a place for them, and, you know, right now, we'd be arguing, is it worth 300 or is it worth 600?
Well, let me ask the chief is what he's doing here, because generally he replaces a cruiser. Is this replacing an actual cruiser, or is this an addition to the fleet? So,
Yeah, so our normal practice has been to replace.
right, replace.
I have a question, and maybe, Greg, you can help with that. Normally, when we have a process like this, we have a sheet that gives us an estimate of how much it's going to be, what he's actually acquiring as part of what he needs. And then he gives us some information about money that he may have set aside to help offset the cost of this.
I don't have that done.
Right, so we don't have any of this information.
We don't have that.
So my question is, would it be simpler just to defer this to our next meeting?
I think that's fine.
Because, I mean, we don't have any information here.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, because we have a number of other requests that we probably want to get to.
Right, then I'd like to make a motion that we defer the first item on the agenda, the police department request to purchase of a 2019 Ford F-150 pickup truck, until our next capital improvement meeting.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay, the next is a request from Lisa Berg to purchase a $20,000 update our vision appraisal software.
I mean, I can speak to it. It's pretty matter of fact. The version that we have is an older version, and Vision is a sole source proprietor. In other words, they're the only ones that provide us with this service. So when they say your software is out of date and needs to be replaced, the town has one of two choices. We can take the less cost and replace it, and that would cost us $20,000 to accomplish. Or we can blow the whole thing up and start over again and say we want to go out to bid and purchase a whole new appraisal system. And I would venture to say that that probably would cost 10 times what we have here, including all the data, migration of all of the data into the new system. So I know that Lisa has been patient and she's been waiting, but it really, to keep our appraisal records up to date and keep our major generation of revenue to the town working and well-oiled, we really need this money, and I would propose that we do it. And Rich works closely with Lisa, and he can probably speak to this also.
Absolutely. Vision speaks to Point. Point Software is what I use as the collector of taxes. So there's already that bridge there. Point Software would be similarly situated, and they are their own little business. So the idea that we're already tied in, and the town administrator is correct. You can bid out for another single computer source, but probably would exceed the price of a house in Dudley.
Did Vision Appraisal send us a bid? Excuse me.
I believe Lisa had been in contact with them, And although I don't have a copy of the quote, we can provide you one for your next meeting.
Question? Is Mrs. Berg satisfied with the software, or is she maybe out looking, 5 years down the road or something? She's very happy with it? Okay,
She's never expressed to me any reservations about it at all.
okay.
Right.
Can I make,
Is this a hard and set price, or is this just an estimate? So should we allow a little bit, just in case it is slightly more than this?
I'm comfortable with the amount that's here, Don. Typically, departments will, if they've got a range, they're gonna give you the top end of the range.
One quick procurement question. This is an upgrade. We can continue with the same vendor. It's not going to be a problem with procurement.
Nope, not whatsoever. We just need to make a finding in that fact.
I make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we move forward, meeting their request for approximately $20,000 to purchase an updated version of Vision appraisal software.
Second.
Is there any discussion on it? No discussion? Okay. All in favor to approve $20,000 purchase of the Vision appraisal software, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, approved. All right, next on the agenda is the Highway Department. Request to purchase a heavy-duty dump truck with an angle plow in the amount of $67,500. Highway here? No? This heavy-duty dump truck was approved at one of our meetings. But it was in the amount of $65,500. So we got a little bit of a jump in there. So we're gonna need a new bid to see.
Yep.
Is that within the, that's not within our range, right? We need a new bid for that?
I'd have to touch base with the highway department. For those of you who aren't following, who are literally, Mr. Guyon is finishing his career this week, and I believe Friday's his last day. We've got a new acting superintendent that comes on board on Friday. This is not one of those great big trucks that you see driving around that's 15 feet tall with a big dump body on the back. This is a 1-ton. So although it's frequently used, it's not necessarily what I would consider to be a frontline snow removal vehicle. If you've got that as maybe an understanding, that is probably a $200,000 item upwards versus $67,000 item.
So Greg, we had approved this, I know we approved this truck,
Yep.
but this was a fiscal year '20 request. He had, in front of this, he still had a loader and a street sweeper he wanted.
Right, so I don't know.
Passing that still?
I've seen nothing to change that order, that priority order, and we also have a vehicle for the Buildings Grounds Department, which has come up before and been deferred before. Typically, what I do is I go to the superintendent and say, give me a priority. I just didn't have an opportunity to do so.
So if we have a price adjustment here of $2,000, we're gonna have to get another, a bid off the bid sheet to see where that stands. And then we can reapprove it. We need to?
No, we can.
When we approved this the last time, this has come up to town meeting a couple times.
Right, and it was
And-
deferred.
Now, they've never actually purchased this vehicle?
No. No, it was deferred to the fall warrant. But it was, when we approved, there was less money. So, we're gonna need a new bid for that, to see why we get an extra.
The same 65,000.
Well, then we don't even need to vote on it if it's, this would have to be amended, though. The price to $65,500.
We would have to do it because it's a different fiscal year, right?
No, once it's approved, it's approved. So, at $65,500, you can leave it. So, if somebody wants a motion to do that, it's fine, unless you want to wait for our next meeting.
I'd make the motion to reapprove for the higher price, 67.5.
Second?
Okay. Is there any discussion on that? All right, all in favor of approving it at 67.5, say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, approved that new number. Okay, next is the Building and Grounds Department. This is 2019 light-duty one-ton dump truck with a plow in the amount of $49,500 for buildings and ground. Again, this was one we had approved. This one was approved
Yep.
at $48,500, so we got another $1,000 added to this one here. This has been on their 5-year plan, so.
I'd make the motion to reapprove it at the higher price.
Second.
Any questions? Any discussion at all on that?
Quickly, some discussion. Mr. Town Administrator, through the chair, would something like this dovetail into a plan for a DPW where instead of having just highway people plow, you'd have somebody from Buildings and Grounds clean up this parking lot, because you can't run a big dump truck through here, or,
We agree, and the Building and Grounds Department already operates under the Highway Department.
right.
So they're a division, so there's not an issue with purchasing this vehicle and having it available to plow at the library or plow at any other location in town. It's not necessarily restricted to here.
But it's a good non-CDL vehicle. It's not a one-trick pony. We have multiple uses for
Right.
this, so it's a good thing. All right. Thank you.
All right, do I need to call a vote on it?
Yep.
All right. All in favor of approving the purchase of a 2019 light-duty pickup truck in the amount of $49,500, say aye.
Aye.
Huh?
The assessors.
Oh, okay. You want to go back? You want to make a motion to go back, or?
Oh, you can take, as chair, you could revisit an item.
Okay. Next item, I actually am going to go back to item number 2. I'd like to have Lisa come up and speak to us about the vision appraisal.
Lisa, keep in mind, it was already approved.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but you've come in, so good luck.
Yeah.
It can only go one of two ways.
I thought the meeting was at 6,
It was originally, but we got so much stuff on here, we had to read.
so I just found out in June that my assessing software needs to be updated. They no longer going to support the version that I have now. I just found out in June, I was at a convention all last week with them, and they said it'd be between 20 and 25,000. He's thinking for our town, best he can remember, it's gonna be closer to the 20,000. But it's imperative that we do get this, because if my assessing software doesn't work, then the collector's office is not gonna collect.
Happy to take a week off, thank you.
So we approved it at 20. Don brought up the point that, should we bring it up a little higher than 20, but 20 is sufficient?
I have a survey that I got in my email today that I have to send back to them, what type of software, what type of computer and everything that I have now, and I have to send that back, and then they'll send me a quote. So I can forward that to you as soon as I get
Okay.
it. But he
We-
said no more than 25,000, he thinks it's closer to the 20.
So we'll be having a meeting, I think we'll schedule it for next week, another capital improvement meeting,
I'll
and
tell
if we
them
can
I
have
need it.
that, that would be
I'll
good.
tell them I need it for next week.
Okay, so if we need to make any adjustments, we can do it then. Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 5, Animal Control Officer. We have a request to purchase a truck for the Animal Control Officer in the amount of, I don't know how much. Jen?
Jen's going to speak to the necessity of the vehicle, but we had a conversation today, and we've changed a little bit of the focus. We would be looking to purchase a used vehicle. The cost will be under $25,000. So I'm not even sure whether it's under the jurisdiction of the CIPC, but you should at least hear her request, because she does do a great job.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm requesting for a pickup truck, because currently the animal control, I do not have a vehicle,
What are you using now?
my personal vehicle.
Nice, so that must smell good when you pick up roadkill and stuff.
I try very hard not to. My husband hates that I use his pickup truck every once in a blue moon. But it's been extremely difficult doing my job with no vehicle whatsoever. It's not even the roadkill that I pick up, the stray dogs. Thank goodness the police department has been very generous in helping me transport these stray animals back to the shelter for me. I've had hit by car animals that I couldn't bring the tufts or do anything with. I had to call mutual aid or other people to help me to do my job. So I'm looking to purchase a pickup truck, so I can do that.
So what kind of pickup truck?
I'm looking for just a regular pickup truck. I would like a 4-door. That way, the back seat I can turn into 2 kennels, because it's going to start getting cold. Can't put animals in the back of a, an open bed. A cab on the back, lights, sirens, radio, and I mean that's pretty much it. I don't need all the bells and whistles. I just need something that runs, works, so I can do my job.
And in the past, Jen's been at the bottom of the ladder. So as vehicles become available and they cycle through departments, she often ends up with a vehicle that's been used 2 or 3 times before she gets it. So I've been here for a little bit over 4 years, and we've already had 2 vehicles that are no longer operable. So what we intend to do is purchase a vehicle that's good for the next 3 to 5 years. It will be serviceable and prevent us from having to come back and look for another vehicle. The hand-me-downs just haven't worked. There's too much use in the animal control, and there's too much demand by the people.
So what are our intentions on buying a used one?
Used one, so what we're gonna do is,
What do-
so Jen sent me what she's looking for. We will go and see if there are any local people. I'm not sure we have the ability to go to the auction. If you know of anyone that can help us in that area, that might be helpful.
I think I know somebody, but.
We'd love to hear from them.
So you're looking for like a F-150?
Yeah, definitely.
Four-wheel drive?
Four-wheel drive, definitely four-wheel drive for the
It's gotta
winter.
be a 4-door, and obviously it's gotta have decent mileage. It's gotta be something.
Yeah,
relatively
something with
new
low
as a-
miles would be great, yeah.
This is to Greg through the chair. Greg, you said you mentioned that you're looking at a price range between 20 and 25,000?
No, I think we'd be looking for something considerably less than that, Don.
Right, but if we were to approve it here, we'd have to at least set up something at least for 20,000. But you're saying that you might not even need our help.
That's exactly what I'm saying,
But
is
in
will
case
still be a request that's on the warrant, but it won't be a capital request.
I understand that, but should we just set up one just in case you can't find something at that price point?
Yeah, maybe what you want to do is defer until we've done a little bit more homework and can come back to you and say unequivocally that a newer vehicle will cost us.
Yeah, because if you find something for 22,000, we don't wanna
Right.
not approve something.
I mean, as you know, the sky is the limit.
Right.
Well, the thing is, a 4-door, 4-wheel drive pickup truck, they're quite expensive. They're at a premium at least 40% higher than a regular truck.
Isn't the police pickup truck a 4-door?
Yeah, but it's brand new.
Right. So, but that should be a little point in the compass. 50,000 gets us.
Well, a 2019 pickup, Ford F-150,
Right.
Yeah, and the
a
vehicle,
heck of a lot more than maybe a
the
decent
vehicle,
mileage 2012.
the vehicle for the police department is going to be a premium because it's got the heavier suspension. It's got the commercial brakes on it, larger engine. So you're talking about top of the line. No offense to Jen, but we don't necessarily need that for animal control.
No.
Do you need air conditioning?
I would like air conditioning, yeah, but if I can go without. I definitely want 4-wheel drive, though.
So we come back to this, or do you have any more questions?
We're doing more than one job with this vehicle. In addition to being animal control officer, we're doing our barn inspections.
Correct.
You want to talk a minute
Yeah,
or two about additional things other than stray dog running down Catherine Street?
Absolutely. My job, being the animal control officer and the animal health inspector, I'm on the road a lot. Right now, I'm supposed to be starting my barn inspections, which I'm putting off because I don't have a vehicle, and we have over 40, 50 different inspections I have to do. I go back and forth to Tufts Animal Hospital quite frequently, and I help out, surrounding towns when they're in need, if they have like a hoarding situation or something. I'm constantly going for barking dog complaints, constantly going, from one end of the spectrum to the other, and I'm on the road quite frequently. And then if I have any animals at the shelter, I have to go back and forth and be with them and feed them and take care of them, and it adds up.
Thank you.
Yeah, so if you look and find something,
Okay.
with Greg, and we're gonna have another meeting, so. Any other questions?
Did we want to approve something now?
It'd be tough to come up with an amount to approve.
We don't.
I mean,
know.
an F-150, a four-door F-150 in decent shape with, I don't know how many miles, we don't want it with
You-
120,000 miles
No.
on it. We want something decent.
What's
We don't
there is
wanna-
there, and what we look
You're
for
talking,
this month is going to be
I
different.
mean, wholesale, I can buy them for $20,000.
I guess through you to Mr. Belly Corners, do you think that we would have a ballpark number by the time we meet next week?
Sure.
And just kind of a sense of what we're looking
Yeah.
at? You want to just wait until then?
That's
It's up to me. If anybody, you guys want to move to do that, we can do that. So,
Yes, I'll make the motion.
okay,
I move that we defer to our next meeting.
sure.
The number 5 animal control officer request to purchase a truck for animal control officer. Amount to be, determined.
Second.
Okay, any more discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Hold on.
One quick thing to add. We'd want to put our signage on it. It's going to have a little magnetic sticker on the back. You go through, you get your police radio, there's a light on it. It should stand out when it goes down the street, that they know who's coming in, not just the generic beige vehicle, so.
Absolutely.
The request would include some public safety.
Do we have equipment that we can take the lights we need and stuff off, or?
I guess you gotta see what you have before.
We might be able to salvage some things.
few
from the
items, right.
vehicle.
Yeah, I know in the old vehicle that I had, I'm sure we could take the, light siren and radio so I can communicate with dispatch and the police officers.
All right, thank you.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None? Okay, so we'll defer
Thank
that
you.
till, thank you, again. All right, next in order is the fire station building project, request for.
Chairman?
Sure.
I will recuse myself from this article.
Sure. Okay, you don't have to leave if you don't want to.
I'll go far.
Okay, there you go.
Maybe you go on the other side of the table.
Myself included
Okay.
over there, so.
Okay, so we have additional funding in the amount of, is it 225?
225.
Is that exact, 225?
That's the recommendation of the Fire Station Building Committee.
Okay.
And I can speak on it, and the gentleman from the Building Committee here, too, they'll fill in any gaps that I may have missed. So there's a memo that's in your packet. It's entitled Town of Dudley Fire Headquarters Summary of Unforeseen Issues. So in summary, the request is for $225,000. To date, $207,562 have been anticipated and in some cases encumbered in terms of unforeseen conditions that have impacted the project. There are really 4 items that resulted in the over expenditure of the contingency. So let me just briefly go over what those are. There was an issue, under the state bid law, the town has to put the sub-bids out prior to seeking general bids. So keep in mind, there's a number of licensed trades in Massachusetts under Chapter 149 that you have to go out and issue sub-bids for. And one of those sub-bids that we go out and issue as a major part of the project is the electrical portion of the project. And you can see on the first page the range of costs associated with those electrical sub-bids. And you can see that the first, at $499,900, was by far the lowest. And then the second, at $564,400, was still reasonable. However, what happened was, the first bidder was unable to fulfill their bid. The town did make a financial settlement in the amount of $25,000 to release them from their bid price. We went to the next lowest bidder at $564,000. They indicated they were too busy. They had no obligation to enter into a contract with the town. And that forced us to go to the third low bidder. And the third low bidder, the result was a $27,087 cost increase to the project. The alternative to that would have been to throw out all the sub-bids in the electrical category and go out and rebid it. And it was the thought of the town's project management team that would not accomplish us having low prices. And so we decided that in the interest of the project moving forward, we would go with the third low bidder, and that resulted in a major hit to the town's project contingency. The second item that was discovered in the early phases of the project was contaminated soils. So at one time, the fire department had underground fuel storage tanks for fueling of town vehicles. Those tanks were removed sometime in the 1980s. They were removed in accordance with the law that was in effect at that time, and we didn't anticipate that there would be any further problems. In the course of excavating the site, and specifically excavating portions of the site that were previously covered by the fire station structure that was demolished, contaminated soils were uncovered. There was fuel that was discovered in those soils. There was no way of determining that prior to the structure being removed. So there was a cost of $60,252 in removing those contaminated soils. You'll see an itemization on page 3 in terms of what those costs are and how they are broken down. They include the delivery and disposal of materials, the venting system, and such. Also the cost of a licensed site professional. The third item that resulted in an increased cost to the project was unstable or unsuitable soils. So if you look at page 4, you'll note that there's a cost of $15,482. And those were organic materials that were discovered under the structure, the existing structure. So when that was being excavated, those unsuitable soils were discovered. And then there's a cost. And you may say, why didn't we know about these things before construction began? The town does hire a geotechnical engineer and a geotechnical specialist. And the job of the geotechnical specialist is to go out and look for things like this, along with presence of ledge. But when you have conditions that exist under or within the confines of the existing building, they're impossible to detect. And in these instances, the problems that were encountered result from conditions that existed within either the confines of the existing building or were under it and not in a place that could be easily discovered. The final thing that resulted in a cost increase was the existing foundation. Portion of it was determined to be unsuitable. And again, that's an instance where when the project began, the foundation was determined in a certain section that it was not sufficient. And this again was previously covered by the apparatus base. It was a construction of block concrete with very limited footings. So that had to be repaired and replaced at a cost of $4,741. So in summary, we have $207,562 in costs. We also have a couple of things that we need to purchase before the project is completed, and those will come from the contingency budget also. That's the vehicle exhaust recovery system, which is basically a fancy way of venting the exhausts from the fire engines and apparatus to the outside, so they don't impact indoor air quality. And then an emergency alert communication system in the department. The total of those two items is $130,000. So if we proceed with the project without additional funding, you will see that the remaining contingency for the project would be $187,888, which in the committee's view and the project team is really insufficient to get us through the project. I think, as I said to the chairman today, we're at the point of the project as of the end of August. The project was 5% completed, and 65% of the contingency had been spoken for. So think about that. Project is 5% completed, and 65% of your contingency is spoken for. So we felt as though we had a problem, and we felt as though this is something that needs to be addressed at town meeting. So the intent is to get town meeting approval to issue additional debt. We will apply to the Department of Revenue, which and indicate that this was unanticipated and unforeseen costs. It will seek to have it excluded on the original debt exclusion question that was approved by the town. So there will be no further ballot that will be necessary. We feel as though we've put together a very compelling case that this is within the original scope of the project. We're not looking to put on fancy copper gutters or a new roof, or put in a new area of the building that wasn't contemplated, a garage for the fire chief and things like that. Those would be outside of the scope of the project, the original project approval. So we will we'll ask DOR to exclude this. And we have to make an application to do that. Dean, I don't know if I missed anything. I'll turn it over to you.
No, I think you covered it pretty good. Just that, again, he said it was unforeseen, but with the dirty soil, but in a way, it was a blessing in disguise, because that, being under the building, there was a footing under there that held that fuel in that spot. Had it not been there, it would have leached into the rest of the property and probably caused a lot more expensive cleanup. So, although there was no way to determine it was there, having it encapsulated like that helped make it less of an amount to remove. And when we initially discovered it, we thought the money might be double or triple of what we're asking for, but we really worked the numbers and got it down to a minimum number. I know $225,000 is a lot of money to me and anybody sitting here, but in the grand scheme of the project, it's not really that much of an increase. And as the administrator said, it was an unforeseen thing. And I guess that's it.
Any questions? Rich?
To anyone, through the chair. Are there similar concerns under the portion that you didn't do any excavating on? I'm understanding that what at the time was new construction, they poured a nice floor and concealed a few sins, which we've dug up, and really, it was almost its own little bad area, and nothing leached, because I know we took samples around it to make sure that there was no contamination. Is there a concern, or should there be a concern, or you'll never know unless you crack the floor in the remaining fire department?
I can say with 99.9% certainty that entire site is 100% clean now.
Okay, all right, thank you.
We've had all kinds of engineers, geo specialists, taking sample after sample. They went under the footing into the existing building, took samples next to that, and nothing. We pretty much got it all.
Excellent, that's excellent news, thank you.
Dean, the vehicle exhaust, the recovery system and the emergency communication system, was that not in the original?
Well, we had an issue, I don't know if anybody watched the last selectmen's meeting. The vehicle exhaust system is required by law. We had an issue with with the sheet metal union, and I want to keep this to a minimum, but they basically filed a grievance with the Attorney General. And so we decided, if we left it in the bid package, it would have held up the project. It could have sunk the whole project. So we decided we're going to bid it separate, and we used previous case law to do that. It's legal to do it as long as we bid it publicly and do it as we're supposed to, and let everybody have a fair shot at it. So instead of holding up the project and potentially damaging the project or making it cost an exorbitant amount of more money than it was, we're going to bid it separate at a later date.
So both of them, same,
What's that?
so same applies to the communication system?
Well, that was just, we're transferring some of the old stuff into the new stuff, but because the building's bigger, we're gonna need more things.
All right.
Like it's speakers and lighting.
Well, that's why you had the contingency anyway, right?
So
Right, but-
the bottom line, I think Dean mentioned, it all has to be put out to bid.
Right.
So they exceed the amounts that the town can operate off of quotes with. One of the reasons why we didn't run into a major issue with the Attorney General is the town said, we intend to put these items out to bid. That's what we want to do.
Through the chair to Greg. My question is, when we make a motion for this, do we have to come up with a new total, or are we just adding to the original?
Yeah, so I would suggest that we handle it as we'll have council rewrite the article, but I would suggest it be a standalone article. It should reference the previous vote of the $6.5 million, but it's an additional amount too, and we'll have to proceed with it, but we'll have council vet the article.
Well, because my question is if we add the 225 to the 525 that's already there, that gives us 750 for the contingency fund, just about. And I'm just wondering if that's all we need to do, so that when they make the changes or whatever, they
think
make their approvals.
Contingency is one of those things, more is better, but, you know, the project team has assured us that they feel comfortable with the contingency being that amount of money.
Right, but I'm just saying that they've already spent they came up with 525 as 8.1%. They spent all but 187,000. All right, but if we have this 225, that changes that original number to 750, 450.
Right. The public doesn't vote on the contingency amount. We do, and we have internal accounting that establishes that, but they won't vote on it.
So we'd only have to approve the 225 additional.
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
I just wanted to say, I think the 225 is sufficient. I mean, and this is our Vice Chair, Justin Dolan of the Building Committee. We've unearthed everything that we would not be aware of at this point, I think, and I use the term smoother sailing, but from here, we know everything's exposed, and once they move into the renovation part, we know everything's that's there, so we wanted to keep the amount to a minimum so it would be reasonable for the townspeople, but at the same time, I believe the state, it doesn't require, but it suggests that 8% of the project be in contingency. Is that correct, Greg? I believe the number was
That's
8%.
Mhm. Yeah, somewhere up to 10%. I mean, it's kind of one of those numbers that can be subject to change.
I mean, we're thinking at this point we'll be okay because, like, the worst of the problems have passed. So if we get this additional amount, we'll be okay.
And I can speak to, I work in private construction, and 8 to 10% is pretty typical on a project of this size for contingency, so it's not outrageous to ask for 8%. I think it's also worth letting the people in the town know that none of these issues that are outlined in here that are coming out of this contingency could have been planned, foreseen. It's not lack of oversight by the contractor or particular engineer or anybody on the project team. These are things that are truly unforeseen. And that's why we feel the additional 225 will give us that leverage going forward. So if we do run into an issue with some other unforeseen condition, we don't have to stop the project dead in its tracks because we don't have enough money to fund it. And as the chief said, going forward, you know, my experience in construction, Most of those unforeseen issues are behind us. We've uncovered everything, and the rest of the building, the contractors had the ability to look at, just walk around, so have the engineers and the architects, so I think we'll see less issues going forward.
Any questions? So basically, what we're basically saying here is that the 225 is a safeguard
Correct.
at this point. It's not, we didn't spend 225, right? We haven't spent that. This is
No, we
to
could-
safeguard in
We
case
could
something
put-
major comes up.
We could potentially give some of that back at the end, but
Right.
we are gonna dip into some of that for vehicle exhaust and the communication system.
So out of the 525, which was the original contingency, you're taking out the 207.
Correct.
And then you're taking out the 80 and the 50.
Right.
So it still leaves $187,000 sitting there.
But like I
any other
said, we're only gonna
contingencies.
have one shot at this, and
Right.
if we don't have it, we could, like he said, this could potentially stop the project in its tracks, so the money really needs to be there. Like I said, at the end.
Right, I
if
mean,
there's-
so it is a safeguard then. I
Right,
mean, if there's still
correct.
$187,000 left in the pool.
Correct.
You haven't spent yet, the 225 is just a safeguard in case something does
Right.
cost more. And so
But
we
like
don't
I
have to-
said, if we, at the end, if that's there, we'll
doesn't-
just
you
give
don't
it.
use it, you don't use it,
We'll
right?
give it back.
Is that how we're understanding?
You can't really give it back. It's held,
Well-
it's held as capital surplus, and it may be reappropriated for another capital project of a similar life. You can't go through and buy a pickup truck with it, but if you needed to make renovations to
Town hall?
the town hall, good example, something like that, something you can borrow for 20 years. Can't spend it on salaries or raises.
Well, what I'm saying is you've got the 6.5 sitting in your safe somewhere, right? Basically, right?
Big coffee can, yeah.
If we needed another 225, do we have to borrow it now and put that in the safe, or can we borrow it at the time?
You
of
have
this?
you have the authorization to do it, and we get into finance right now. Fed's gonna move the rate, things are gonna go up, what you could refinance your house for 6 months ago, it's a little higher now, and it's, all the indicators are that the dollar amount is going up. But if you're borrowing the money, you're paying interest on it, so you wanna use it. So ideally, you wanna borrow it at the last possible minute, because we're already paying interest on it right now. We have a debt payment coming up, middle of,
What I'm saying is that the 225, you're gonna add to that immediately?
you
Or you're
can,
gonna
it was a series of tax exempt bonds that were,
Right.
that settled in May. You'd make a short-term loan on it, we'd borrow it. The turnaround time for something like that is 30 days, maybe 6 weeks at the longest.
We pay interest on 225 if it's not necessary.
You have the authorization. As you come closer to completion, we should be spending our last 225, a meeting before they think they're gonna use, or spend that last 10 cents, give me the high sign and we borrow the money.
Okay. All right, so, does anybody want to make a motion on this 225?
I'll make a motion that we move forward with the request for the additional fund in the amount of $225,000.
Second.
Any more discussion on this? Anything? Any questions?
So we're not borrowing it until the money's actually needed, when they've exhausted the additional 188,000 that's sitting
There's
here as a condition.
5.8 in the bank right now, so they're gonna be spending it, and, you know, if they finish it, just argument's sake, in July, in May, I get the high sign, we borrow the money, and we'd probably settle on it and write a check the following week.
So we're approving a potential loan for 225,000 should the funds be needed.
I've been assured this evening that they plan on spending it, so, but it's the authorization. You can also, if the authorization was 225 and they only needed 100, we borrow the 100, pay it off, and then the authorized unissued would just be rescinded at a town meeting vote as housekeeping.
So the town voted on 6.5 million,
Right.
and we have a contingency of 525,000. And there's a plan that we're gonna be left at 188,000. and we're being told that we're hitting smooth sailing. All problematic areas have been uncovered. We should not be uncovering any more problematic areas. Yet, we still need another $225,000. So I guess I'm just having a little bit of trouble understanding that.
So basically, the way commercial construction, it's controlled construction, so the architects and engineers are signing off on the pay recs in addition to the town administrator and the building committee. It's a percentage of work completed. And just looking at what we have for percentage completion and where we are now, the contingency doesn't align. So typically, you'd want to have 8%, and as Greg said, we're about 5% complete with the project to date, but we spent 65% of the contingency. So really, we just want to make sure that the money is there. Should an issue come up in the future, there are things that could come up that we don't know. We're not anticipating it, and we just want to kind of stress that we're not anticipating it. However, if we run into an issue and there isn't the funds there, and you can't pay the contractor, it stops the work and stops the project, which could be a significant cost to the town if we had to restart that project at a later date. Plus, it leaves, in my opinion, public safety in a disadvantaged situation. If anybody's driven by the station right now, it's a little tight to operate.
Yeah, like Justin said, if we don't receive the 225 and we got to stop the project for some reason and the station's not complete, you could come back to it later and it could cost you a couple $1 million to restart it, so.
Okay. So it's a fail-safe, is what you're basically saying. What would, if you were to use up the 225, Greg, what was the impact on that per thousand? It's like 20 cents, or?
I'd have to get together with Lisa and calculate out what that is. I don't know.
Okay.
Small.
Okay.
Small.
Is there any other questions on this? All right, we'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, so 225.
Thank you.
Water and Sewer Department. So we have a 2019. Oh, okay. Paul Konitsky has rejoined our meeting. Okay, I'm back. All right, Water and Sewer Department requests to purchase 2019 F-250 regular cab pickup, the plow, light bar, in the amount of $36,500. The vehicle is to replace a 2003 pickup four-wheel drive with a plow. It's got 85,000 miles on it. So this is another pickup truck. We just bought one last year, right? Brand new one? We bought a,
That was the F-150.
the F-150.
Yeah, George Petrinas from the Water and Sewer, Commissioner Scott Sikowski. This truck actually won't be till fiscal 2019. We're looking at sometime in the May timeframe for this new truck for the Water Department.
Okay.
We have right now an F-150 that's a 2003. It does have a lot of miles. It's starting to rust up and stuff. It does haul some heavy equipment with it. The one that you were referring to from a year back was for the superintendent's truck.
Right.
We have that now.
Yeah.
The problem is we don't have a real heavy-duty truck to do work that is being done by the F-150 at this point. So we're looking at the time frame sometime in the upcoming 2019. I'm sure the price will be somewhere in there, but I get a bid package together, make sure I get the proper bid and what specs are in the truck.
So are you putting this on the supplemental?
This will be coming on, coming
So-
on, come in the springtime.
So are you taking, is this coming off?
This is coming off. This was not supposed to be on for this upcoming. This was supposed to be in 2000 for the springtime.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, I saw it on the 5-year plan.
Yeah, it was on for, it's sooner than that as far as on the truck goes, so we were looking at it for next year.
Fiscal year 18,
Yeah,
right.
just to give a little bit more breathing room. But that's kind of coming down the pike, okay, just to let the board.
Now,
be aware.
you also have an F-450 crane truck.
That's the sewer department.
That's sewer department?
That was just done brand new last year. The other one was about a 2003, and it was really beat bad. So the sewer department's in pretty good shape there. The water department is slowly revamping, cycling their vehicles properly the way they should, because the work we do involves a lot of heavy-duty wear and tear on the vehicles, okay? So that's kind of where that is right now. The other thing is that we're going to be putting the article in for the I&I study, and Scott can give a little better presentation on that.
Okay, we're mandated by DEP every number of years to check our systems to find out if we're having any inflow or infiltration.
Scott, can I interrupt you 1 second? So this has nothing to do with the pickup truck then?
No, that has to do with the next one.
So what I want to do
Okay,
then...
we'll wait till-
do
we'll
we
wait.
want to defer till spring meeting on this?
Yes.
So, does anybody want to take a motion to defer to spring meeting on this?
I'll make a motion to defer to the spring meeting.
Second.
Any other discussion? Wait, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, sorry, Scott. So this is regarding the, you're talking about the camera?
Camera.
Okay, so that would be Article,
That would be the sewer department.
so this is to purchase an inspecting sewer camera to
So
71.3?
So basically, infiltration, inflow and infiltration. Inflow is groundwater being able to seep into our sewer pipes and heading down and being treated at the plant. Infiltration is things like downspouts that are being directed into the storm, into the sewer system, which are illegal as they stand. But they do exist. Years ago, people would run their downspouts in, they'd go right into the sewer system, but that's sending clean water through the sewer treatment plant. Doesn't make any sense. So we've just done a study. We are in the process of putting together a process for continuing to determine where the bad areas are, and then what we're going to do about it. Part of that is this number 8, this camera. Basically, as unappetizing as it might sound, it's a camera that we can send down the sewer mains and see what's going where, or what isn't going where, or if there's roots getting in, if there's laterals are where they're supposed to be, that sort of thing. And they're not cheap. We do have a pretty firm bid of price at that $71,397.
Do you have a copy of the bid?
I do not have it here with me. No, we don't have that here now. We have that, it's down in the office. But that's what we're asking to do with sewer retained earnings. Retained earnings right now, I believe, are somewhere in the vicinity of 350,000. I believe. Don't hold me to that.
So Scott, just
Somewhere in that range.
just a couple questions. There was somebody that came in and did some engineers that came in recently?
Right, tie and bond.
So do they do that type of work?
Not on a maintenance stand, they do the I&I, the studying, they do the repair work, engineering for the repair work, that sort of thing. No, they
won't.
We could hire them
to come in and do that study
something like
for
that.
us?
It would be expensive. That
Okay.
doesn't allow us to do maintenance. We can, our own people can go send.
So that will bring me to the next question. Do we have people qualified to be able to do this on a regular basis?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, this whole thing, I&I and the regular duties of the sewer department, don't confuse them too much, okay? The first thing is that this I&I study coming out now, we've been told by DEP, we've been mandated to do an exploratory study of, you see the flow trucks that were out there doing their systems, taking readings. It's showing what our system has right now, what's going on with it, what infiltration's happening, where water's going through, how it's getting into the pipes, what areas are more affected than others. When that study was completed, which is coming up now, we've got money already allocated for the article coming up with that, is phase 1 of the project, okay? Getting to know what's going on in our system, how bad is it, and from there, we have a direction where we have to travel as to how we're going to fix this. We have steps mandated by DEP, how we're going to repair or line or revamp the sewer mains as they are, because they can't stay the way they are. Once they find out where the main problems are, they have to be identified and they have to be corrected, okay? The camera for the sewer department, they've had camera, we have a camera it's very old, it's constantly breaking down, and it's very costly to fix, okay? Not many people can fix them. This new camera can also assist us with this study in various ways, possibly to minimize costs down the line, or where we have to identify problem areas. The other thing is that our routine maintenance of the system or identifying problems in the system, it's vital to have a camera like this, because to find out where there's a plug or whatever could entail digging with a machine and just trying to follow the pipe till you come up to a problem. And you're ripping up the road, you're ripping up properties and all that, and you can't do that. So the camera has a way of identifying exactly where the mark is of where the problem lies. We can identify that and dig right down to it. It's also part of our preventive maintenance program on the sewer system. As we go along, we scan all areas of the town and try to make sure that all the pipes are clean, that there's no other issues coming down the line that we're going to have to be aware of, and it's vital to have it. So it's long overdue. We thought this would be the time now to do it while this study is coming into play, where they can also assist with that. It could cost, and like I said, could save us some money there. So I don't want you to get confused with the study.
I didn't know if it was something they were requiring for us. On the 5-year plan, since we're talking about I&I, down the line for the 5-year plan, we're going to be, and it's going to be before 5-year periods, it's probably going to be next year, up to 5 years now, we're going to be looking at some substantial money to respond to these DEP concerns, and they're mandated. We can't do anything about them. They have to be corrected. Whatever they deem necessary, we need to do. Just don't want to get everybody worried about it, but it is something that's major, and it is coming down the line, okay? They've just started these programs now. Other towns are in the same boat. We're not the only town, but our system is very old. It's very small. We only have a couple guys maintaining the system. So what we can do, we'll certainly do as best we can in-house, but we also need the tools to do it, and this is a good first step with that. Does the DEP require any kind of certification for you?
No, the camera, as far as the work of the camera, no. We're not a treating system, we're a maintenance system. So the sewer department is not needing of any licenses or certifications as far as that go. The water side has treatment licenses, like myself, who can cover some of that anyway, because we also work with them and assist them too. So it comes under my umbrella as far as the treatment goes. If any chemicals are used, we're licensed for that. Okay, so that covers that.
What does this camera look like? I mean, I've seen them
It's like a cylindrical, think of something in the hospital, like a colonoscopy, going up, same thing, only on a bigger scale.
I mean, I've seen them work in like
I don't want anybody
systems,
cringing, but
I've never
yeah.
seen. So, yeah, I mean,
It's what it is, they have a small trailer set up with the camera, and we send the camera through to any section of pipe, and go up as 30, 40, 50 feet, and it has a computer screen type thing at the back where they can direct this camera remotely to go forward, back, check laterals. If somebody has a problem in their pipes and we can't determine what's causing it, we can scan along the line of the main trunk line and see what lateral may be plugged, and we can determine if it's our situation we have to correct or the homeowner has to correct. It's quite a thing to see, and it really lights up the whole inside of the pipe. It shows us a lot of problems with infiltration of water, roots getting through the pipes, things like that. It's quite a thing, and it's worth its weight in gold. It really is.
what about like warranties on this camera?
There is a warranty on it. Don't hold me to it right now. Mike had talked to me about it a little bit. I can't tell you exactly the warranty, but they do coverages on it. And with a new camera, getting parts are going to be a lot easier. We won't have to pay through the nose to get some remanufactured parts from way out. It's going to save us a lot right there. So it's worth it to do it as soon as possible, especially with
Is this something easily dropped and broken?
We try not to.
No, I mean, we don't have replacement cost insurance yet, do we? So,
like anything,
that's an expensive piece,
yeah, like any instrument, I mean, you have safeguards with ropes and things, or try to secure things. Like, you got to remember, some of these sewer mains go down 8 feet, so, you're lowering things down. You'd be as careful as you possibly can. We have techniques of guiding it into the pipe so it enters the pipe properly. And the new ones now are a little bit more versatile and they're maneuverable better, because the one we have is not very maneuverable. Takes a while to get it going. It's like kicking an old horse, trying to get it moving. But it does do the trick. But the new stuff now is online available, so we can get parts, we can get technical support pretty quickly with it.
Mr. Camignani, is there, are these things covered on insurance in case they break?
I
mean,
We could get
similar
insurance
to
for it. I believe there is
I
insurance.
mean, I'm serious, if you drop a $70,000 camera and it breaks, you're all 70,000.
There is extended warranty packages
We'd go
in that
through
with it.
and put it on, we'd put it on our inland marine or something like that to make sure that it was covered. There's
So
a line for it. We'd let the agent know that we had it, so that, like you had mentioned, in the event that something unforeseen happens and it became useless, you'd get some replacement for it, absolutely.
Unfortunately, a lot of our equipment is antiquated in the sewer department and has to start being revamped. I'm not just talking the camera. Down the line, our Jetta, which is used a lot, is 20 years old. I mean, we're gonna have to start looking at retrofitting that or replacing it or whatever. I mean, we're trying to start a little bit on the more vital side. The camera is the vital part of the equation, because now with this infiltration program going on, it's a vital part to assist or to even branch off on our own to see where we're up against and where we're going and deal with problems as quickly as possible.
Now, would you be able to get us something from the bid sheet on
I'm
there?
gonna see if I can get
Some
something
sort of
on a bid sheet or
numbers and
whatever. Yeah,
what this
I'll,
looks like, and we're gonna have to schedule that for probably next week.
While we're on the sewer, we have, like I said, we have the article for 49.5, that's phase one. Okay, that, but for the 5-year plan coming up, that infiltration carries through to that. Okay, so sewer is covered as far as that goes. On the water side, along with the pickup coming in 19, like I said, we are gonna be looking at replacing the water main on Mason Road.
Right.
For those who aren't familiar with the water main on Mason Road, it's what they call it AC pipe or transite pipe. It was put in years ago, and I mean years ago, as a cheap way of affording a water main. It's asbestos, it's lined cement pipe, paper line, and it cracks quite often under any pressure. And it gets what they call punky in soil that's soft and moist, and it becomes brittle. And we've had nothing but main breaks right through this many years now. It's been, as you know, where we've found one split we found about 20 feet long. We had to replace a whole section, 2 sections, and that was Mason Road extension. We're going to be doing Mason Road from June Street down to the fire station. It's a 6-inch, and I know you've heard about the Jesse Road project coming online. That's required to be 8-inch. I can't even tie that in properly at that point until that main gets replaced, but the commissioners are looking at it right now. We're starting to get a little bit of pricing, what we need, where we're going. It's about a mile from Mason Road, about a mile from June Street, where we had done it years ago, to the fire station to cover that section there. And then we'd be looking at Mason Road extension to cover the whole thing. That extension would be later on after that. You're probably looking in the vicinity of $8 or $9 to $1 million, depending when this starts going. But we need a little bit of buffer, but that would be in our 5-year realm right there.
Would you speak to capacity and being able to offer water beyond the end of Mason Road, Dudley, Oxford, being able to go further down, being able to go, I'm not sure what direction it is, but providing more water?
More water, no. This is more of a maintenance to bring the system up to par, but we're looking also at West Dudley. There's some land out there, I won't say where, but we've been trying to get into that land to put a pump station to branch off on our western side. That would open up a lot of doors. We're running 2 pump stations right now only. A third one is our main station, which is a backup only, DEP approved to, if we have to use it, they have to come in. There's a whole process. It's a shallow well system. The other ones are deep turbine wells, which go about 60 feet down. Right now, they're sustaining the town, including when Nichols is in session, okay? We kind of cringe in the summertime, towards the end of the summer when Nichols comes back in. We watch our graphs jump right up, pumping about 500,000 gallons to a little bit more, sometimes into 6. Our capacity is okay, but we got to monitor what we do, and that's what we're doing right now. But it's essential that we look for a third station somewhere in the western part of town, and we're trying to right now. We've had many well sites dug, tested. A lot of them came up with radon. Others came up with not the capacity to pump enough water for our needs. And believe it, you mentioned Oxford. Over the Oxford line, plenty of water. They hit the aquifer at the French River at that point. Come on our side, you don't hit the aquifer, you don't get the water you need. So we're kind of dead in the water on that side of town. We need to get something on the western part of town, where the pressures can equalize. Can't build too many stations on one side of town and not start popping mains, you'd be in trouble. So we've got that all working right now, but like I said, this is a maintenance 5-year type of thing to get the system up. We're trying to get rid of as many trunk line transites as we possibly can that are giving us, the roads and streets are giving us the most problem with that, and that Mason Road is one of them. And it's a well-used road for the service, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Greg, anything?
No, I thank Scott
Thank you.
and you give us such a good explanation.
Yeah. That's it?
Roger, I hadn't heard that before, about
Yeah.
trying to balance the system with pump stations on both sides of town.
Yes. Yeah, it's a delicate game to play, especially with the type of pipes in the ground, but
Appreciate that.
we have made progress with some of our big mains in town, like Mill Road and Dudley Oxford Road, trying to get the big stuff done and then branch off a little bit smaller from there. So far, so good. We're working at it and pumping at it.
So we're gonna wait for something from you guys?
I'm
as
gonna
far as
give
what's
you
going-
a bid, I'm gonna talk to Mike on the sewer, and we're gonna see if we can get a bid package for that camera, what it does, so you guys are familiar with how it works. I'd love to bring a demonstrator model in, but unfortunately, I don't think you'd want it on the table. It wouldn't be too good.
Picture would be good.
Yes, it would.
The pickup truck also, I'll bring a bid, when that time comes, I'll bring you a bid. I'm sure the prices have changed, but I'm gonna try to go further out and branch off from MHQ even. There's other places procurement places that have better specs and stuff, so.
All right. So do we have a motion here to, wanna push us to next week?
Make a motion, defer to next week.
Second.
All right. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we'll defer to next week. Any other miscellaneous stuff need to go over? Anybody? Nothing? Okay, so next week, we'll schedule a meeting, Michelle. Can everybody make it next Tuesday night? Is there a, what's Tuesday, is that open, or? It's the 16th.
You want to do it before the selectmen? Tuesday doesn't work.
Tuesday doesn't work?
Hold you guys up for anything, but
Tuesday or Wednesday is the only thing I can do. I can't do Monday.
Wednesdays don't work.
Wednesdays work.
Next Tuesday?
Do you have any help, Fred?
There's 4 meetings in this room next Tuesday.
Starting at 6. Can anybody be here, say? Can we use the room for 6? Can everybody we only need about half an hour meeting, right? We only got a couple things. We're gonna discuss the police department, his F-150, the truck for the animal control, and the camera. So there's only really 3 items to discuss.
On which night?
Next Tuesday at 6.
6?
Is that good for everybody, or? Good? You? No?
I'll send you an email.
Send me an email, let me know, okay.
Well, I'll send everybody an email.
Okay, so we'll set a meeting for next Tuesday night at 6 o'clock here for a half an hour meeting.
16th.
All right, is there any other miscellaneous? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
All right.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, adjourned.